Datuk Seri Hajiji sworn in as Sabah Chief Minister. Trump warns Venezuelan airspace closed. Good afternoon and Salam Malaysia Madani. This is World Today with me, Daryl Baptist. Just hours after the 17th Sabah state election concluded, Datuk Seri Hajiji Noor returned to lead the state administration after being sworn in officially for a second term as Chief Minister. He took his oath before Sabah Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Musa Aman in a ceremony at Istana Seri Kinabalu at around 3 a.m. Datuk Seri Hajiji's appointment further strengthened Gabungan Rakyat Sabah's position as the largest coalition in the election. Chief Judge of Sabah and Sarawak, Datuk Aziza Nawawi, witnessed the signing of the documents. Also present were GRS Secretary-General, Datuk Seri Masidi Manjun, Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister, Datuk Armizan Muhammad Ali, who is also GRS Deputy Secretary-General, Sabah State Assembly Speaker, Datuk Seri Kadzim M. Yahya, and Sabah Attorney General, Datuk Brendan Keith Soh. Before the ceremony, negotiations to form the new Sabah state government took place at several locations in the city. Earlier, Election Commission Chairman Datuk Seri Ramlan Harun announced that Gabungan Rakyat Sabah, or GRS, won 29 seats to emerge as the most successful party in the Sabah state election. GRS contested 55 seats, including Datuk Seri Hajiji, who retained the Sulaman seat for the 9th time with a majority of 8,919 votes. Datuk Seri Ramlan said Parti Warisan Sabah won the second highest number of seats with 25, followed by Barisan Nasional with 6 seats and independent candidates with 5 seats.
Pertubuhan Kinabalu Progresif Bersatu, UKO 3, Parti Solidariti Tanah Airku, Sabah 2, Perikatan Nasional PN 1, Parti Kesejahteraan Demokratik Masyarakat KDM 1 dan Pakatan Harapan PH 1.
He also noted that a total of 1,148,476 people, or 64.35% of registered voters, cast their ballots in the election. The figure included regular voters, early voters and postal voters. And now on to international news. US President Donald Trump has sharply escalated his threats against Venezuela, ominously warning that the country's airspace should be considered closed. Trump on his Truth Social network said all airlines, pilots, drug dealers and human traffickers should consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety. The US president, however, did not elaborate further on the matter. His warning comes days after US aviation regulators told airlines to use increased caution near Venezuela over the mounting tensions, prompting multiple major carriers to suspend flights. Caracas, which views a large US military buildup in the Caribbean as a pressure campaign to oust President Nicolas Maduro, slammed Trump's warning as a colonialist threat. A statement by the Venezuelan Foreign Ministry called Trump's latest remarks a new extravagant, illegal and unjustified aggression against the people of Venezuela. It warned that the airspace disruptions would also mean a halt to repatriation flights of Venezuelan migrants from the US. An Israeli drone strike killed 2 Palestinian boys in Gaza. Uncles of the slain children said the boys were brothers aged 8 and 10, and they had been out looking for firewood. Spokesman for Gaza's Civil Defense Agency, Mahmoud Basal, said the two brothers were killed in an Israeli drone strike in Bani Suhaila, east of Khan Yunis in the southern Gaza Strip. Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis confirmed receiving the remains of the children. The fatal drone strike happened around the so-called Yellow Line within the Gaza Strip, a boundary marked with yellow concrete blocks. Under the fragile US-brokered ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the Israeli army withdrew to positions behind the Yellow Line. On a related note, the Health Ministry in Gaza said more than 70,000 people have been killed since the war between Israel and Hamas erupted more than 2 years ago. The ministry said the death toll from the war had risen to at least 70,100. It added since the ceasefire came into effect on the 10th of October, 354 Palestinians had been killed by Israeli fire. It noted that the spike from the last death toll was due to the fact that data relating to 299 bodies had been processed and approved by the authorities. UN Chief Antonio Guterres said in so many ways the tragedy has tested the norms and laws that have guided the international community for generations. He said the killing of so many civilians, the repeated displacement of an entire population, and the obstruction of humanitarian aid should never be acceptable under any circumstances. He noted that it is vital that all parties respect the ceasefire fully and work in good faith towards solutions that restore and uphold international law. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan has accused Israel of violating the Gaza ceasefire with what he calls made-up reasons. Speaking in Istanbul, Erdogan said Hamas has remained committed to maintaining the truce despite repeated provocations. He also criticized international media for failing to report on the deaths of journalists in Gaza, claiming more than 270 have been killed since the conflict began. Erdogan said the toll on the education sector has also been severe. Over 13,500 students, 830 teachers and education staff, and nearly 200 academics were killed. More than 785,000 students have been left without access to schooling. He said Turkey continues to highlight these issues internationally, including during discussions at the G20 summit in South Africa last week. He added Turkey is working to deliver humanitarian aid as winter approaches and is committed to preserving the ceasefire. He reaffirmed Ankara's support for a two-state solution based on the 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as the capital of an independent Palestinian state. Still ahead, Malaysian man confirmed missing in West Sumatra.
Program Rancakan Madani bersama Malaysiaku dan Konvensyen Nasional Reformasi Perkhidmatan Awam 2025 akan diadakan pada 5 hingga 7 Disember 2025 bertempat di pekarangan Dataran Putrajaya, Putrajaya. Pelbagai perkhidmatan turut dibawa kepada orang awam. Orang ramai berpeluang untuk mengambil bahagian dalam pelbagai segmen interaktif yang disediakan, termasuklah peluang kerjaya, jualan usahawan, pameran, persembahan kebudayaan, isukan dan gerai-gerai makanan untuk dinikmati seisi keluarga.
Welcome back. This is World Today. At least 303 people have been killed and 279 reported missing after severe floods and landslides swept across Indonesia's Sumatra island. According to the National Disaster Management Agency, North Sumatra is the worst-hit province with 166 deaths recorded and 143 people still missing. Aceh reported 47 deaths and 51 missing, while another 90 fatalities were confirmed in West Sumatra. Rescue teams continue to face major challenges, including damaged access roads, difficult terrain and persistent bad weather. Authorities said many affected areas remain inaccessible, raising fears the death toll will climb further. Search and rescue operations are being carried out by land and air, but the rugged landscape has limited the use of heavy machinery. Officials are urging local governments to speed up the establishment of medical posts and public kitchens at the busiest evacuation centres. In a related development, the Foreign Ministry has confirmed that a Malaysian citizen has gone missing and is believed to have been affected by the landslide incident in Padang Panjang, West Sumatra on the 27th of November. It said the Consulate General of Malaysia in Medan would continue liaising with Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency, the West Sumatra Regional Disaster Management Agency, and the local police to obtain the latest information on the search and rescue operations. It also advised Malaysians in West Sumatra to follow all instructions issued by local authorities and avoid areas prone to landslide and flooding. Sri Lanka has declared a state of emergency as the death toll from floods triggered by cyclone Ditwa climbed to 153, with nearly 200 people still missing. The Disaster Management Centre said more than 200 or rather 20,000 homes have been destroyed, forcing over 108,000 people into government shelters. Another 798,000 residents have required assistance after being displaced by a week of relentless rain. President Anura Kumara Dissanayake has invoked emergency powers, giving the government broad authority to coordinate rescue and recovery operations. Troops from the Army, Navy and Air Force are working alongside emergency workers and volunteers. Several areas remain inaccessible, including parts of Badula district, where washed-out roads have cut off entire villages. Officials said about one-third of the country is without electricity or running water, as power lines collapsed and water facilities were submerged. Cyclone Ditwa moved away from the island yesterday and is heading towards India. Rain has eased in most regions, but the northern areas are still experiencing showers. Colombian authorities have elevated the alert level for Purais volcano from yellow to orange, signaling a heightened probability of eruption following a surge in seismic activity and changes in volcanic parameters. However, the Colombian Geological Service said an eruption is not confirmed as imminent. It reported that measurements showed a rise in the frequency and energy of earthquakes caused by fluid dynamics inside the volcano. These disturbances were accompanied by gas and ash emissions from the crater, with ash columns exceeding 1,000 meters in height and drifting northwest. Authorities are closely monitoring the situation while urging residents in nearby areas to remain vigilant and follow official guidance. Global airlines are racing to fix a software glitch on Airbus A320 aircraft. This is after a partial recall forced hundreds of flight cancellations across Asia, Europe and the US. Regulators had ordered airlines to complete the mandatory software update before the jets could resume passenger operations. Major carriers including American Airlines, Delta Airlines, Air India and Wizz Air reported that most of their fleets had already been updated with minimal impact on schedules. The rapid overnight efforts helped avert widespread delays, especially in Asia and Europe. In the US, where post-Thanksgiving travel demand remains high, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said affected airlines were on track to finish the updates by Sunday midnight. Airbus CEO Guillaume Faury apologized to airlines and passengers for the sudden recall, which covers over 6,000 aircraft, more than half of the global A320 fleet, or rather family fleet. AirAsia, one of the world's largest A320 operators, said it aims to complete all updates within 48 hours. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese married his girlfriend, Jodie Hayden, becoming the country's first leader to tie the knot while in office. A beaming Albanese wed the financial services worker at a private ceremony in the garden of his official residence in Canberra. The ceremony took place more than a year after Albanese proposed on Valentine's Day last year. The Prime Minister met Hayden more than 5 years ago at a Melbourne business dinner. The centre-left Labour Party leader secured a second 3-year term in office in a landslide election victory in May this year. Next up in sports, rousing start for young Tigers with a drubbing of Austria. The national men's hockey squad kicked off their Junior World Cup campaign in style after thrashing Austria 5-1 in the opening Group E match in Tamil Nadu, India. The squad, led by Noor Saiful Zaini Nasiruddin, took a 2-0 lead in the first half through Mohammad Haris Iskandar Osman's penalty corner flick in the 28th minute, followed by the second goal from Muhammad Adam Ashraf Muhammad Johari's field goal in the 47th minute. Malaysia then scored the third goal through Navinesh Panikar's penalty corner flick in the 55th minute, before Austria scored their first goal through Julian Kaiser a minute later. 2 field goals by Muhammad Danish Ayman Khairul Anwar in the final quarter of the game added to the misery of the Austrians before the match ended. Commenting on the success achieved by the national youth team, Noor Saiful Zaini said his men performed brilliantly to collect the first 3 points.
Kita tutup pergerakan mereka, so nampak easy dalam first, second, third quarter. Tapi ada sikit kelemahan dari pihak kita kerana semasa first, second quarter tu kita dah boleh kill the game, kita boleh score banyak peluang yang kita ada tapi kita tak make it. Dan 5-1 tu pada saya alhamdulillah okey, tapi sebenarnya boleh dapat lebih banyak lagi lah.
Well done to the young Tigers. The men's national team, on the other hand, didn't have such good luck as they ended the Sultan Azlan Shah Cup round-robin competition in 4th spot with 4 points after losing 4-3 to South Korea at the Sultan Azlan Shah Hockey Stadium. The dominant South Koreans scored 2 quick early field goals through Oh Seong in the 4th minute and Park Cheo-leon in the 5th minute to stun the speedy Tigers. South Korea extended their lead to 3-0 in the final quarter through a Yang Ji-hoon penalty corner goal in the 47th minute, before Malaysia managed to narrow the deficit to 2-3 with 2 quick field goals from Faisal Sari in the 54th minute and Muhammad Azrai Aizad Abu Kamal a minute later. Although Muhammad Azrai Aizad managed to make it 3-all in the 58th minute, Kim Hyung-hon turned hero for South Korea when he netted the winner off a penalty corner set piece in the final minutes of the game.
Marking was not good enough. I think we played well, we moved the ball around well, but only thing I think they defended well until we just not getting the goals. But we had the penetration, we had the chances, but we were not getting the goal. So the last few minutes, I think the boys tried to put more pressure, and then I think we took our chances in the end.
We now move on to football, where Manchester City's Phil Foden delivered in dramatic fashion by scoring in the first and 91st minutes for a 3-2 win over Leeds United in a breathless finish that kept Pep Guardiola's side firmly in the Premier League race title. Guardiola's men were keen to put things right after 2 straight losses and wasted little time. Before the game was a minute old, Matheus Nunes worked the ball down the wing and crossed to Foden, whose first-time shot glanced off the underside of the bar and went in past keeper Lucas Perry. City continued to dominate, and Josko Guardiola doubled their lead in the 25th minute when he poked home a point-blank effort from a corner when Nico O'Reilly's header fell at the Croats' feet. City were lackadaisical after the breakthrough, and Leeds' Oa Tanaka pounced on a casual attempted clearance to slide the ball to substitute Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who pulled one back in the 50th minute. Lucas Mecha equalised in the 68th minute after a penalty was awarded to the visitors for Guardiola's tackle on Calvert-Lewin, although Gianluigi Donnarumma saved Mecha's initial effort. The forward rushed in to fire the rebound into the empty net. Seconds into added time, Foden found some space in the box and fired home to send the fans into raptures. Elsewhere, Al Hilal defeated Al Fateh 4-1 in their Kings Cup quarter-final match as manager Simone Inzaghi's side pushed for silverware in his first year in charge. The home side dominated the match from start to finish, securing their place in the next round where they will play against Al Ittihad. In a rerun of last weekend's Saudi Pro League match, Al Hilal took the lead in the 21st minute through Brazilian forward Malcolm. That was quickly followed by a neat finish from Portugal's Ruben Neves 2 minutes later, and Hassan Al-Tambakti made it 3-0 before half-time. The hosts did not rest on their lead though, and early in the second half, a break from midfielder Theo Hernandez allowed him the time to pick out Argentine international Marcos Leonardo for the 4th goal. Al Fateh managed a consolation goal in added time when Matthias Vargas found the net from the edge of the area. In another match, Karim Benzema scored a hat-trick to lead Al Ittihad to a 4-1 win over Al Shabab in their Kings Cup quarter-final match in Jeddah. The hosts had opened the scoring through a header from Abdurrazzaq Hamdallah before a powerful strike from outside the box from Mahamadou Doumbia. And Benzema's effort from a tight angle gave Al Ittihad a 2-1 lead at the break. Late goals from the French veteran Benzema in the 84th and 86th minutes then wrapped up victory for the defending champions. Over to motorsports now. McLaren's Oscar Piastri won the Qatar Grand Prix sprint race from pole position and for the 3rd year in a row to trim teammate Lando Norris's Formula One championship lead to just 22 points. Mercedes's George Russell finished second, 4.951 seconds behind the Australian, whose win was his first of any sort since the Dutch Grand Prix at the end of August. Norris finished the sprint in 3rd place, followed by Red Bull's Max Verstappen in 4th. Piastri's win was his first in a sprint this season, and he was never challenged or troubled from the moment the lights went out, with Russell and Norris almost touching in the race for the first corner, but avoiding contact. Verstappen complained again that the bouncing that had plagued him in qualifying was back, but he still made up 2 places on his starting position. Norris now has 396 points, with Piastri on 374 and Verstappen on 371, with 50 remaining to be won. Colourful stories await you in our Offbeat segment. Stay tuned. A gingerbread Labubu, Titanic and the Louvre heist are among the entries of this year's Christmas Gingerbread House competition at Stockholm's Museum of Architecture and Design. The museum recently unveiled this year's competition entries with the theme of Love of Design and Architecture, showcasing 151 edible creations. The annual exhibition, which has been a tradition at the museum for 35 years, draws participants of all ages and skill levels, from children to professional architects and bakers. This year's entries also include tributes to iconic structures such as the Eiffel Tower, the Taj Mahal, and Pippi Longstocking's house.
This is both an exhibition and a competition, so everyone that wants to, they can make a gingerbread house and they can place it here, and we make an exhibition out of it. So we have 151 houses here on display today, and people can come to, or they can vote on our website, or they can come here in the exhibition and vote on their favorite ones.
The exhibition will run until mid-January next year. The winners in 3 categories, namely children, adults or architects, as well as designers or bakers, will be announced on the 14th of December. Pompeii's ancient Roman frescoes, shattered and buried for centuries, are getting a second life thanks to a pioneering robotic system. It was designed to support archaeologists in one of their most painstaking tasks, which is reassembling fragmented artifacts. The technology combines advanced image recognition, AI-driven puzzle solving, and ultra-precise robotic hands to accelerate traditionally slow and often frustrating restoration work. The robot uses twin arms equipped with flexible hands in 2 sizes and vision sensors to identify, grip and assemble fragments without damaging their delicate surfaces. The robotic project showcased in Pompeii brought together international research teams that used the archaeological site as their testing ground. While the robotic teams worked on designing and building the system, experts in artificial intelligence and machine learning developed algorithms to reconstruct the frescoes, matching colors and patterns that may not be visible to the human eye. Researchers believe the technology could transform restoration practices worldwide. And that wraps up World Today. In our top story, Datuk Sri Hajiji sworn in as Sabah Chief Minister. Tune in to Malaysia Tonight, coming up at 8:30 p.m. on TV1 and saluran Berita RTM. Until then, my name is Daryl Baptist. Salam Malaysia Madani, and have a great Sunday, everybody. Good day.